the only Muslim.
There are about 100,000 militant Muslim extremists in the world today. That is 0.01% of the global Muslim population of about 1.7 billion. January 27th, 2017, the day Donald J. Trump, current president of the United States, signed an executive order holding citizens from Iran, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. January 28th, 2017, mass protests start nationwide in opposition to the ban. January 29th, 2017, 2 judges blocked the executive order. January 30th, 2017, Donald Trump fires acting attorney general for refusing to defend the ban. When I was in 1st grade, I went out to play with my friend. We were playing outside and suddenly her mom calls her back into the house. I waited and waited for her to come out, but she never did. The next day I saw her playing outside and I went over and started playing with her. But she had told me her mom said she's not allowed to play with me anymore. I went home and cried that day. I was only 5 or 6 years old. I didn't really know what was going on. Fast forward a few years. When I was in 5th grade, my English teacher brought in an article. The article read, "All terrorists are Muslim, but not all Muslims are terrorists." I stayed quiet, not saying anything. Being the only Muslim, I didn't really feel a need to speak up. But why did I feel like I didn't belong when I was born in the US, when all my life I've known nothing but the US? I stayed quiet, not saying a word, because I thought my rights should be dictated by someone who taught me grammar. We can argue today if we think Muslims belong in the United States or not, but try telling that to the 5-year-old version of me who's known nothing but the US. President Trump, I'd like you to look my 2 sisters in the eyes and tell them they don't belong here. I'd like you to tell my parents that all the hard work they put into the United States means nothing because of their feelings for Islam. My dad came here with $300 in his pocket and turned it into an income for a family of 5. President Trump, you were given $1 million and went bankrupt. The US tells many lies, but the biggest one of all, for liberty and justice for all. Many people say that President Trump only wants the bad Muslims out. But answer me this. If he only wants the bad Muslims out, then why did he dismiss the life of a US slain Muslim soldier? Humayun Khan, aged 27 years old, died in a car bombing in Iraq in 2004 trying to save fellow troops. A few years later, his mother and father spoke at the DNC. And instead of feeling remorse and feeling sympathy, President Trump instead commented on why his mother didn't speak, saying it was because the Islam religion doesn't allow her to speak, because she has to stay quiet. When learning through what I've learned this year, Nietzsche's concept resonates with me the most. Nietzsche's concept is how we feel about American media. American media can be movies, newspapers, and even documentaries. When we see this, we see that in many movies that we see today, Muslims are seen as the bad people, not the good people. So that's how many Americans see Muslims as, not people here to make a better life, but people here to cause mayhem and chaos. If we're going on I'd like to present an example. When non-Caucasian people commit a crime, their names are usually put on blast for the entire world to see. Take this for an example. His name is in the title, and he was accused of a bombing in New York, which is all right. The punishment should fit the crime. He should be condemned for what he did. But let's take a look at another example. This Bangladeshi girl won a full ride to MIT, but that's nowhere written. Her name is nowhere written in the article. Her name is Tashfiya Shikhtar. She's more than just a Bangladeshi girl. She's smart, she graduated top of her class, and she embodies the American dream. But that's nowhere written inside. Studies show that 54% of mass shootings are committed by white men, according to Mother Jones. On January 30th, 2017, Donald J. Trump stated that he would give higher precedence to Christian refugees over Muslim refugees. Now, while I understand that these refugees aren't citizens, under the 14th Amendment, we have the Anti-Discriminatory Act, which states that you cannot discriminate against one group over another. President Trump picking which refugees he wants to let in and keep out is clearly an act of discriminatory. According to that, since the last major overhaul of 1986, we've spent an estimated $263 billion on immigration enforcement. $263 billion that we could have been using to fix Flint's water crisis, giving veterans a home, sending low-income families to school, but instead we're using it to tear families apart. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2016, we had an approximate 16.5 million jobs available. 16.5 million jobs, and no one willing to work them. They're taking our jobs, They're taking our manufacturing jobs, they're taking our money, they're killing us, said by current President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. But the facts state otherwise. Now, when we try to get into what causes terrorism, one of the major things that aid terrorism is guns. Obviously, banning guns won't fix terrorism overnight, but instead, try to fix what's going on with them. How is it that I can go into Walmart and buy a gun at age 18, but I have to be 25 to rent a car? Background checks. We need to start giving background checks to people who are buying guns. We can't be giving guns out to everyone and expecting people to stay safe. According to the Washington Post, 8 out of 10 perpetrators who commit crimes, their guns are in unlawful possession, meaning that they obtain them illegally. Straw purchasers are one of the biggest problems within the US today. Obtaining guns within the black market is too easy. So it's not as hard to get one, and that's why just outright banning guns probably won't do the trick. I refuse to idly stand by and watch the current administration ruin my future over facts that aren't even factual. Instead, if you really want to keep the citizens of the US safe, stop assuming you need melanin to commit heinous crimes. Stop giving guns to people without mental health background checks. Stop assuming that every child who is building a clock is building a bomb. Stop assuming that every African American who steps out of their house has some sort of unwritten agenda against us. And stop assuming that every single person who isn't white and steps into the United States today is here to terrorize everything you stand for. So just remember, don't oppress the 99.99% because of the 0.01%. Thank you.